finished school, I had months of summer before I went to university, and I knew that I wanted to get a job, but I'd never done it before. 2 weeks later, I landed my first job. If you want to know how, keep watching. Hi everyone, welcome back to Trees and Turtles. I'm Imogen. In this video, I'm showing you how I got my first job. If you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? It's there. Make sure to do that. Follow me on Instagram, it's in the description. Let's get into the video. Okay, so step one, I revamped my CV. Okay, so after I finished school, I had to look at potential summer jobs. I looked at retail, customer service, and administrative roles, which was pretty much all I was qualified for, because I wasn't really qualified for much, because I didn't have any paid work experience, this being my first job, just volunteering and stuff I'd done in the past. I created 3 versions of my CV, one tailored to retail, one tailored to customer service, and one tailored to administrative roles, which is ultimately where I ended up in the final one. I made sure that my transferable or soft skills, like I'm good with people, I can work in a team, I'm independent, those two aren't contradictory, by the way. Anyway, I made sure that those skills were obvious on the CV. Okay, step 2. I got my references lined up. So at the end of the CV, there's a section that says, there's a section about references, who basically are people, if you don't know, that your potential employer can call and they say, yeah, this person is not a psychopath, or this person is a psychopath, but they're a very good worker. Anyway, point is, they're people who vouch for you and say that you are hireable or employable. So I just asked people that I knew from my daily life, for example school, and who had known me for a while. Enough of them said yes to providing a reference, so that was essential. And there's a little section at the end of my CV that says references on request. So if your employer is interested, they can ask you, and then you provide the references, the contact details of people who have agreed to say that you're a nice person. Okay, step 3. I read about the theory of how to write a good CV and job application. I made notes. So I watched videos, I read articles, I consulted checklists, and I really internalized the information from more experienced people and whatever I found online. I asked for help, step 4, from more experienced people in person. So I'd never applied to a job properly before, but fortunately for me, people around me had, and it's probably the same for you. I'm sure you know someone who's got a job. My dad supported me through the process, but it doesn't have to be a parent. It could be a friend, or it could be like a mentor at school, one of your teachers. It could be anyone in your life who is experienced in applying for jobs and is willing to give you advice. Okay. Step 5, I contacted lots of agencies and applied to lots of jobs. Like, you can't apply to one job and be like, I'm gonna get it. It's not how it works, okay? It's not how it works. You need to apply to lots and lots and lots of jobs. I've forgotten how many, actually, and I only got one offer of an interview, and that is the place I ended up working. If I'd waited longer, maybe I would have got more. Like I say, I was out of school and in work within 2 weeks, so that was quite a quick turnaround. But as I was a recent school leaver with no formal paid experience, I just felt lucky to get the opportunity, and I was like, it's a job offer, it's an interview, let's go with it, right? So the next step is maybe a little bit controversial, maybe a little bit not. If it doesn't apply to you, feel free to skip it, but if you have imposter syndrome, like I do, it definitely does apply to you, so I just ignored my imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a bit of a bitch, honestly. It's going to tell you you're not good enough. It's going to tell you that you aren't employable and that your experience is rubbish and that you should just give up and be unemployed for the rest of your life and starve. Honestly, your imposter syndrome is talking rubbish. So I had terrible imposter syndrome. I didn't have much confidence because I lacked experience. Honestly, I was just like, I was 19 and I'd only done volunteering. I decided to stretch myself and apply for things and ignore the little voice in my head that said I would never get hired. Honestly, some of that stuff included stuff I wasn't sure about, but I looked at it and I said, could I learn how to do this? Yes. Am I willing to learn how to do this? Yes. Okay, good, let's apply. And yes, obviously, the job ended up being a learning curve. Did I make mistakes in the job? Absolutely. Did I learn from them? Also, absolutely, yes. And I was better at it than I'd expected, which was a pleasant surprise, and it made my imposter syndrome, for a little while at least, shut up. Okay, step 7. I worked closely with my employment agent, so I got hired through an agency. I answered their emails on time, etc. So as soon as I left school, I made it my full-time job to get a job, right? Because even though I knew I was going to university in the autumn, I still wanted the experience over the summer, and I wanted some experience in the world of work, right? So I made sure to stay professional and just treat it like a sort of a 9 to 5. It was working hours, and I would get back on their emails immediately and be like, yes, I can do this. I'd supply them with the information they needed, and just generally, yeah, like I say, I made it a full-time job to get a job. And as far as I was concerned, until I'd landed a job, that was all I was going to do. Were there things I could have done better? Absolutely. Did I do my best, given that I was 19 and fresh out of school with 0 paid professional experience? Also absolutely. Okay, so step 8. I prepared for interview by finding out about the company. So I went on their website, I read a bunch of stuff about them, I looked in depth and learned about exactly what it is that the company did and does. This part was honestly essential. I just sort of summarised for myself what their mission was in my own words. I made sure I understood enough fundamentals to explain what my understanding about that was. And this really helped me in the interview, because one of the questions that I was asked in my interview was about what I understood the company to do, and the person who was interviewing me, who later became one of my closest colleagues, was impressed with my answer and seemed to think that I understood the company's mission really well. So it is really, 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 I emphasise this, worth doing that, okay? So, step 9, I got the interview, I dressed professionally for the interview. Obviously, I made sure to dress in a professional way. I didn't extinguish my individuality, but I created a balance. I presented myself in a neutral and friendly way as a potential colleague, like as a human being, but also as a professional, as somebody you'd enjoy working with. It's a balance, right? You've got to not look like a robot, but at the same time you've got to look like you're not going to throw donuts around the office. It's a balance. Anyway, so let a little bit of individuality shine through, but keep it professional. Anyway, okay, step 10. This is kind of similar to step 9, but it's more an attitude thing. I maintained a professional and positive attitude all the time, and I tried to form positive working relationships with everyone I met in the process. So I kept an open mind, and I thought of everyone as a potential, close colleague, and I was not out to make any enemies. I was out to make all the friends I possibly could. So whether they ended up being my colleagues or not, I was determined to be nice to everyone and leave a positive impression. There is absolutely no sense in making enemies, especially when you're starting out. You need people to look at your potential rather than your experience, because you ain't got any experience, and you need people to like you if you're going to get a job and if you're going to get paid. Being likeable gets you paid, okay? So be friendly and professional is what I'm saying. Alright, so that's how I landed my first job when I was 2 weeks out of school. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's all for today. If you did, like it and hit the subscribe button. I upload new productivity content every Monday. I'd also love to see you on my Instagram, so make sure to follow me there. It's in the description. Anyway, I'll see you next week. Okay, bye!